Hello and welcome back. This is the DT Corey. Today, this is the first video where we actually are going to be on the rebranded side of the YouTube channel called The American City Privationist. For those of you that don't know, I am a city privationist or a material formal sedevacantist. And well, I thought it was best that we changed the channel logo and the channel name to fit who I am and what I believe. So, you can still call me the DT Corey or the American City Privationist. It's up to you. But today, let's get into today's video topic. Today, we're going to send a reply to classical theist. Let's get to it. Many today attempt to show that Vatican II is not in contradiction with past magisterium. Classical theist is one of those attempting to do just that. To fix this apparent contradiction, he appeals to the ideas of Thomas Pink. Pink's ideas on Dignitatis Humanae can be summarized in two quotes. Quote, "But it is a gross mistake to see the Declaration of Religious Liberty as anything even approaching a marriage with modern liberalism." End quote. Next quote. "Although the language of Vatican II's declaration is often that of secular liberalism, when integrated into tradition, the fundamental structure is quite different." End quote. In order for Pink's assertion to be proven correct, Vatican II must teach a doctrine that is not in line with modern liberalism. Without this proof, classical theist and Thomas Pink would be incorrect that Vatican II is in continuity with past Catholic doctrine. Today, the proof to the contrary will prove them to be incorrect. That contrary proof is found within the official interpretation of Dignitatis Humanae given through the ordinary magisterium of John Paul II. Encyclical of John Paul II, Redemptor Hominis, quote, "We cannot fail to recall at this point, with esteem and profound hope for the future, the magnificent effort made to give life to the United Nations organization, an effort conducive to the definition and establishment of man's objective and inviolable rights, with the member states obligating each other to observe them rigorously. This commitment has been accepted and ratified by almost all present-day states, and this should constitute a guarantee that human rights will become throughout the world a fundamental principle of work for man's welfare." There is no need for the Church to confirm how closely this problem is linked with her mission in the modern world. Indeed, it is at the very basis of social and international peace, as has been declared by John XXIII, the Second Vatican Council, and later Paul VI in detailed documents. After all, peace comes down to respect for man's inviolable rights. End quote. Here, John Paul II points out that the Church's mission is linked to what the UN is doing in establishing man's objective and inviolable rights. These inviolable rights are the liberal errors condemned by Pope Pius IX. Compare the UN's Declaration of Human Rights to Quanta Cura. Declaration of Human Rights, quote, "Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in community with others, and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance." End quote. Quanta Cura, quote, "From which totally false idea of social government they do not fear to foster that erroneous opinion, most fatal in its effects on the Catholic Church and the salvation of souls, called by our predecessor Gregory XVI an insanity, that liberty of conscience and worship is each man's personal right, which ought to be legally proclaimed and asserted in every rightly constituted society, and such a right resides in the citizens to an absolute liberty, which should be restrained by no authority, whether ecclesiastical or civil, whereby they may be able openly and publicly to manifest and declare any of their ideas whatever, either by word of mouth, by the press, or in any other way. But while they rashly affirm this, they do not think and consider that they are preaching liberty of perdition." Pope Pius IX condemns the idea that every man has the right to liberty of conscience and worship, and that such men can openly declare their ideas by the press or word of mouth. The UN Declaration teaches the exact opposite because it is the very liberalism condemned by Pope Gregory XVI and Pope Pius IX. Therefore, the assertion of Thomas Paine has fallen apart. John Paul II officially interpreted Dignitatis Humanae as being in conformity with the ideas of a liberal organization. There's a final point that I want to bring against classical theists. Let's roll the clip.
Coercion with regards to the religious matters, according to the document, can only be done by the state only for the sake of, quote, just requirements of the public order, unquote. And that's Article 8. Now, one can easily conceive of a practical example of this. Say, for example, there is an epidemic of Islamic jihadism in a given society, or in a sect of Islamists interpret the Quran to justify certain acts of barbarism and use places of worship as a means of radicalizing young adherents to their violent cause. Now, such a case is obviously one where the state can and should intervene and restrict the religious liberty of such a sect in order to maintain peace and social stability.
Here, classical theist has no problem with Vatican II teaching that religious liberty can be curtailed when the public peace requires it. This very idea is condemned by Quanta Cura. Quanta Cura, quote, "And against the doctrine of Scripture, of the Church, and the Holy Fathers, they do not hesitate to assert that is the best condition of civil society in which no duty is recognized, as attached to the civil power of restraining by enacted penalties offenders against the Catholic religion, except so far as public peace may require." End quote. Pope Pius IX teaches us that it is against Scripture to believe that restraining public offenders against the Catholic religion can be done when public peace requires it. This means that punishing such offenders goes beyond just meeting the demands of public peace, which is in direct contradiction with what classical theist has said in the attempt to show that Vatican II and the Preconciliar Magisterium are in continuity. This is the DT Corey signing off, and remember, Vatican II contradicts the Preconciliar Magisterium.